and having to do a lot. I suggest you answer the questions in the chat, actually, as we're a little bit late. That would be nice. Once again, thank you. Then coming to the final panel, which I'm very happy to have now. I just introduce everyone quickly, and then the moderator of the panel will take over. So we are very happy to have with us as a moderator Peter Fath, who is in solar for many years, has been the CTO of Centrotherm, founder of GP Solar, and at the moment at RCT Solutions, he's designing factories. And as far as I understand, he's actually now dialing into this presentation from one of the factories he's recently designed. We have also with us Christopher Ballif, who's the director of CSEM's PV Center and is also the director of photovoltaics of the lab at EPFL. Very happy to have Christoph with us. We have once again Tuukka Savisalo from Valoe. He's Vice President R&D, so great to have also a manufacturer for modules and with a lot of experience in cells. We have with us again Michael Grimm, head of department at 3D Micromac, a leading European laser manufacturer. And we have now with us Giuseppe Demofonti, who is a senior consultant at Convertitalia, one of the world-leading tracker manufacturers. The topic of the panel discussion is how the EU PV manufacturing industry can become more competitive. And now I hand over to Peter to moderate this interesting panel. Please, Peter.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Michael. Thanks for your kind introduction for this very exciting panel. I think this is one of the key questions in our European community: how we can make the EU manufacturing sector more competitive, more strong in our region. And I just want to, as an introduction and motivation, I just want to give some facts. First of all, our market is big. This year we might go to 25 gigawatts, soon 30 gigawatt of market product requirement. If you look at our manufacturing situation, we have about 6 gigawatt module capacity in Europe. We have about less than 1 gigawatt cell capacity. We have about 1.2 gigawatt ingot and wafer capacity. And we are in polysilicon, we are strong again, having 20 gigawatt of polysilicon capacity in Europe. So if you look at this situation, you can easily see our whole manufacturing capacity is far below the market requirement. And that is a fact which we have to discuss, how we can improve this situation. And secondly, of course, what we also have to look at the history. European manufacturing was already very strong 10 years ago. We had big companies like SolarWorld, QZ, Isophoton, all these companies. But finally, by the Chinese competition, they had a lot of troubles and they disappeared. So now let us come to the idea of how we can change the situation and how we can put EU manufacturing, EU capacities back to the grid. We see starting projects like Meyenberger, like Greenland, like expansion of Northern Valoe. I'm now in Turkey for Kalyon's 1 gigawatt integrated factory. We see growing plants, but it's not enough, far not enough. So let us talk about this topic, and I'm happy to have my friends from the panel joining me. And I want first raise a question to my panelists. What do you think, is the EU market already sensitive to look again at products in a more preferable way, which are made in Europe, as compared to import the products from China? Perhaps I can ask Tuukka, He's already in a manufacturing company. He can give perhaps a statement on that.
Yes and no. The market is maturing very fastly. That brings a lot of other elements into the equation than the price. Of course, the price is very important in the bigger installations, but we can see a lot of other sectors, other niches opening where things like branding start to make a big impact. So there is definitely good openings for the newcomers to take into place with a different approach than the Chinese, not just focusing on the low price. However, we need these leading players in order to make it possible for the smaller players to flourish. Because we need the supply chains back in Europe. Currently, a lot of the materials we need for manufacturing cells and modules are coming from Asia, coming with the European companies, but they are made in China or other Asian countries, and the laboratories have also moved there quite a bit. So we need production in a gigawatt scale in order to attract those back.
If you allow me one quick question again back to you. If you say there is a sensitivity on branding on European made in EU from the customer side, and since you're a manufacturer, you know the best of all of us. But at the end, what do you think if you look at the price? How much more a typical European customer would be willing to pay for a made in Europe product, assuming the same quality, just as a guess? 5%, 10%?
Strongly depends on the market. If you look at the residential market, that can be 50-100%, providing that the product meets the expectations.
But for EPC, it might be more competitive.
For EPC, probably looks at the value only. But the EPCs are getting more and more educated and more professionals that looking at the big picture and not just the initial cost. So yes, that you can also tailor to the EPC market with a completely different approach than the price.
Okay, thanks a lot for your statement, Babs. Please, if there's a more comment.
Yeah, Peter, maybe one comment. We made a large survey in the frame of a Swiss project involving homeowners. We interviewed about 1,000 homeowners, and we really could quantify this aspect of, let's say, local manufacturing and special product, and people were willing to pay for their PV system maybe 20 to 30% more. And when you know that the big part is also installation, that means that you can come with local products that are more expensive by quite a margin, especially for small roof, certainly not for the big parts. So I think there is a willingness of customers private customers to do something. They start to prefer Europe. China is not building up the best reputation in terms of good manufacturing practice, in terms of all the problems like Xinjiang and so on. It's bringing a shadow on manufacturing in China, so there is a trend here. But for sure, I think for the big parts, what we also observe is price is the most important. And here there will have to be something happening on the regulatory side, in particular with respect to the carbon content.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps one more, before we are coming to the social aspects and the CO2 footprint, I want to put another discussion point into our panel, because in the past always we learned it's everything about technology. In Europe we have the big R&D community, we have the best technology, the best machines, and everything is about technology. We can make Europe strong again with a distinguishing, disruptive, the best product, the best, highest technology. So I want to discuss with you, is that true or is it just a dream? And at the end, it's just stupid cost per watt peak. So perhaps since Christoph, you are one of the most distinguished researchers in Europe, can you give your view on how important this technology, advanced European technology, will help to come back on stage?
Well, first of all, we always have to be modest. You know, there are many other countries, including in US, in Australia, and in Asia, with great research results. This being said, I think that Europe still has a very diversified research landscape, is bringing a lot in terms of technology. But of course, we realize that it is at some point not enough. It is not enough. And this is a big question. How do we do when it's not enough to be good in research? Because when you see the capability, financial capabilities, in particular in Asia and China, to ramp up quickly big volumes and get big investment being done, of course, Europe remaining very small in terms of market, will have no chance to compete on the pure price basis. And maybe just to put the things in context, you mentioned 25 gigawatt for Europe. And when you have a look at all the scenarios for decarbonizing Europe or even the world, you see that we will not need 25 gigawatt per year in Europe. We will need around 250 gigawatt. And this is a solar power Europe scenario. So this is a much larger market. And there is this policy question first, so this is 250 gigawatt per year. This is what we should do. If you speak of module at 20 cents per watt, this is a 50 billion market. And there is a politics question. Is it worth spending so much money just for making this kind of front-end and module manufacturing for 50 billions? Is Europe, and I'm not sure that the politicians have answered yes to this question. So here there is a big question mark with respect to an industrial policy. And then there would be the question how you can influence this policy one way or the other. But maybe one point where we still see that there is, I think, really a chance. As you notice, there are a lot of small companies making modules. There are a few solar cell manufacturers reviving up. And certainly with a good branding and the good niche market, they will be able to do a very good job. But this job will be for a few gigawatts. It will not be for the likely 100 gigawatt, but maybe for a few tens of gigawatts there would be place. And for me, it could be an acceptable scenario at some point if we're not able to revive the very big industry.
Okay, understood. Coming back again, please, yes.
I would still like to raise a point here, is that these small companies by themselves, it's very difficult to survive if there is no research lead and if there is no gigawatt scale manufacturing in Europe, because all the materials will come from China and everything is slower. We are behind in every aspect if we don't have these leading manufacturers bringing back the supply chains and that. So everything, all these activities will die unless we will find a way to support these leaders into the gigawatt scale production.
Okay, so you are saying primarily it's not all about technology and having this super high efficiency, whatever technology. We have to bring back the supply chain to Europe because that part is weak, what you are saying. Okay, understood. I totally agree on your viewpoint. But perhaps let us coming back to our chances in Europe, because of course we also believe we have a very strong technology community in Europe, and we have the heterojunction, TOPCon developments, all this one, but also we have machine makers in Europe. Perhaps if Michael, if you'd allow me to delegate to you, because you're from a machine maker, do you think that the European machine makers are still strong enough and they know this volume production so the European machines can compete with Chinese alternative machine makers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, if you look at our China competitors, it's I think you always have to be something which brings you a bit in front, either technology-wise, or you have to address some special points. Yeah, and it will not take long that you will be copied by local Chinese manufacturers. Yeah? This is something you cannot really avoid. You cannot avoid this via IP rights also, because it's not possible to force them, yeah, to not to do this. That's why I think we need this R&D in Europe. This is certainly an advantage here. Also, these close connections. We have other manufacturers have most of them are small size companies. You have to admit. But a lot of them have very good connections to local institutes, to the research centers in the different countries in Europe. And this is certainly something which is really needed, which is helpful, and which should be supported further.
So you are saying because we have these research communities, of course, our machine shipment volumes in the solar sector is not so high generally because our local industry is low. And we are just exporting some machines to Asian big players. But by this proximity to the research community, we can make our machines better, more advanced, and that will give us a leading edge as compared to Asian volume producers of machines.
Yeah, I mean, you will only be selected by Chinese or Asian companies if your tool solution is something special in some case. Yeah, you will not win this race against the price. It's not possible. Yeah, certainly. Also for us, we have shipped a lot of tools to Asia. So this is I mean the mass production is there. I mean this is true. But what we see is that we have a lot of projects, small projects, of course. There are still small projects in Europe where cell and module manufacturing is starting again on low levels at the moment. Yeah, this we have to say. But I mean, this could be a starting point to grow.
Okay, understood. And that's also to Giuseppe. What do you think about this discussion about looking at European advanced technology?
Okay. I think I'm agree with you. We have a lot of points. We have an excellent activity of the research innovation, but we spend a lot of time to move from the laboratory to the industry, and from the industry to the field. So for me, with the European community, we have to support also this step from laboratory to the industry. This is the first step for me. And to do this, the whole industry have to have a research innovation group. Because if have enough people involved in the research, it's impossible to understand the presentation today. My business is to take the low-cost panels in Chinese and to put on the market in Europe. We don't need the research. Okay, this is my personal point. And this is the first point. The second point is, for my experience, I worked before in the other field, and for my experience, it's impossible to go in competition with the standard product with the Chinese or other countries with the cost of the work is low. We have to move in the excellent. If we have to have motors for the trackers, I have two solutions. Or I have to take the low price motors, or I have to have a good quality of the motors. Then in the European industry, we have to take this part of the market, not to go in competition. But to do this, the industry have to move. I worked a lot on the research in previous my activity, and every time we have too much time to move from the laboratory to the innovation. This is one point. The second point, another point, is the industry and the research center have to see to have to work on the standardization of the research. An example for the trackers. The Eurocode 1.13 dedicated to design the steel structure don't know the trackers. Okay. In every country, we have the Eurocode plus the local standard. When we have to present one project, 1 megawatt or 1,000 megawatt, we have to design the tracker on the basis of Eurocode and the local. Okay. We want we have developed on the market, there is the bifacial modulus, but in Italy, sometimes we discuss where is the nominal power of the bifacial modulus. And this is a key point because the authority, like for the revamping, I like to have this definition. So the research is okay, but also the research industry have to follow the standardization. But quickly, not 5 years later.
Understood.
I think this answer today, not after 1 year. This
understood.
This is my point. Okay.
Fully understood. I also agree on your saying that you're saying we need a more closer co-work between industry and research to make the things faster, having a standard, not too much bureaucracy, all this one, fully understood. I want to put one more at the end because we have just a few minutes left. To the discussion is about our advantage in Europe is also, of course, the logistics cost. Because we are very close to the market. If you have a factory, because the Chinese products are coming at a much increased price by increased logistics cost. That is also my finding. And of course, recently we have some discussion on social standards, which is more under our control. That's that extra aspects I want to put onto the table, apart from the aspects we have discussed already. Perhaps because we have just, Michael, we have just a few minutes left. Is that okay if we make a final statement from each panelist?
Yeah. I think so that
Michael Schmiller, can we make a last statement?
Please go ahead. Take your time.
Because
okay,
so now Michael, perhaps if everybody can make a last statement on his view, how, when and how EU manufacturing can come back and become strong. Please, Michael, start first.
Okay. Yeah, I think that with the changes and with the realization of this really need to do something on green energies, I think this could be really a chance. And then, but for sure, politics have to support it, and there are some ethics points which are raising also now. We have this new law in I guess it's a EU, right, where you have to control your supply chain, and this could all aspects and little things where European or production can be grow, and this could be really a point to bring back at least some things to Europe, closer to the markets in Europe, of course.
Okay, and then Christoph, you have also the conclusion statement from your side.
Well, yes, I would really invite people to differentiate the market between, on one side, what I call the niche market, where you can differentiate it with a special product, as Savisalo showed, but there are many products, as Meyerburger is trying to do with its special product, and although it's low CO2 footprint, and so on. So there is clearly a market for that, where you can start to rebuild something. For the very big mass market, I think you're right, transport costs, possible CO2 border tax would bring a small advantage to Europe in the order of a few cents per watt, but this is between 15 and 20% of the manufacturing cost. And in principle, you could do a manufacturing that at acceptable cost in Europe. And this depends very much on the politics. And I think if we defend a politic on which you have a lower CO2 footprint, this gives more chance to manufacture in Europe. And this manufacturing could also even be made in part by Chinese company. And I think we will also see a few moves of Chinese company coming to Europe. And I hope that it gives again the idea to some European big companies to invest again in Europe, starting to rebuild not only the manufacturing of solar cell, but also of some of the other components outside of polysilicon, including polymers and other materials. But for all these, I mean, these things, we have companies that can provide materials. I mean, we have polymer maker in Europe. So the full supply, we have glass maker in Europe. So the supply chain is not fully down. It is not suited anymore to PV, and it needs to be restarted.
Okay, super. So positive outview. And Tuukka, can you make a statement?
Peter, one important point.
Yes, please.
Of course, research, sometimes it's frustrating to see that some of the things will be done in China, not in Europe. But I still think that every cent that is spent in solar research in every country in the world is money that is well spent. And we should never be ashamed of spending a single cent on research in photovoltaics. This is really for the future of mankind, wherever in the end the modules and the systems are built.
That is fair. Totally agree. Then perhaps, Tuukka, can you make a statement on your perspective on the revival of EU manufacturing?
Yes, I'm very positive on the opportunities presented here and opportunities in Europe for the revival of solar manufacturing. All we need is both a lot of capital. There are technology available, there is know-how available, and even the labor and other costs are not that critical anymore. It's all, let's say, high volume manufacturing with a very high throughput automated lines, which we have very good know-how in Europe, how to run and how to optimize and how to keep them safe and environmentally friendly all around. I really do think that we should support these efforts that are now rising to bring this manufacturing back on track. And I think we have a good opportunity and a good chance now, and we shouldn't waste it.
That is a perfect summary. Giuseppe, what is your comment? Do you see the same, or you are negative? We are too slow and we are too sleepy in Europe, or you believe we can do it? Giuseppe, you are Italian. You are emotional.
Yes.
Give us some emotion.
Not sleeping. But we have the other expense. The manufacturing of the device for in Europe, there are a lot of very important companies. Then, my personal opinion, this company can to improve a lot of this offer on the market. But again, it's very important the industry have to accept it, or also the end user have to accept the idea not to see only the price of the panel or the price of the single component, but to see the price at the end of the life. Because the price sometimes can to change very quickly. They still increase the price 30–40% in 3 months. Starting from it. Then what is the price? The price, then we have to put the product on the top. The price is the conclusion. If we start of the price, I think the European community has not a chance. We have to put the quality and the idea, our research activity in the first line. The price is the consequence. And then we have to put the condition of the industry to do this. So frankly speaking, I'm very optimistic also for a lot of money put over the European community inside the Europe in all countries now. Then if this money, we spend this money to not to pay the salary, but for the innovation of our industry, I hope it. I have it to be optimistic for my son, my daughter.
Of course. Thanks a lot, Giuseppe, also for your positive statement. So we can say, as a summary of our panel, distinguished audience, all of us, we are totally optimistic that this revival will come. First of all, we have European market is growing and there's a huge demand. We have understood, we have the technology, we have advanced technology in Europe. Third, we believe European customer will not only look at the price, even they're willing to pay a premium on it. And we are also confident that the other aspects, as Giuseppe said, the product will be in the focus and not only the price. So the only problem which we have to tackle, what Tuukka said, we have to look at the supply chain. We have to make supply chain strong. And of course, we have to get support from the finance sector, from the political sector to finance such type of production facilities. So generally speaking, we can say, I speak of the mouth, hopefully of everybody in this panel, EU manufacturing will come back. And there are a few items which we have to tackle, but the market is there, the technology is there, machine makers are there, the people are sensitive to product and not only to prices. So let us do it. And I'm getting impatient. I made this 1 gigawatt integrated factory in Turkey. It can be done in 1.5 years. So let us spit in the hand and do it and finish talking. Michael, it's back to you.
Thanks, Peter. I'm really happy about the outcome. Putting now my Solar Power Europe hat on. So I think talking about the industry, the European industry sectors lobby association, we're also very positive. We're working hard because I think the hardest thing is probably still what, Peter, what you mentioned last, is actually still creating awareness with politicians and the finance industry that we really have, for also geostrategic reasons, in the long run, our own full value chain in Europe to be able actually to harvest solar actually from also what we are sowing, and not that we actually have to be dependent or fully dependent on someone else. We're happy, of course, to import also good product, but nevertheless, we should be able to produce our part to be somewhat self-sustainable. Thanks so much. Just want to give you a quick outlook on what we can expect. Today was the second day we focused on manufacturing. Tomorrow will be the third day of the event, and we will have actually then the focus on the system side and look at how we can reduce LCOEs. So that means we will have, again, several presentations from the 4 European Horizon 2020 projects, looking into how LCOE can be reduced on the system side. We will also have a panel tomorrow, which will be moderated by my distinguished colleague Aurélie Beauvais, who is the policy director at Solar Power Europe, and they will discuss actually what will be the solutions for the energy transition. Will it be more centralized and distributed? And obviously it will be both, but both have its own challenges and its own opportunities. And coming to the next slide, if you would like to learn somewhat more on the latest in solar modules, please go to our website and take a look at the recent reports and market surveys we just published. We did a lot on the new high efficiency and high power solar modules, also did recently a market survey on solar trackers, and we're at the moment working on a market survey on inverters, for example. So that's it for today. We are looking very much, by the way, we're also looking for new market and technology analysts. If somebody is finishing his job at one of the research institutes, we're happy to welcome you at TaiyangNews, and look also forward to have you back tomorrow at 9:30 for the third day of the What's Hot in European Solar R&D event. thanks so much to everyone. Thanks to the panel. Great moderation, Peter, and super outcome. Have a nice day and looking forward to see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.